Stop everything you're doing and listen carefully just once. This isn't just another video. You're not here by accident. If you feel like your life is stuck, if you find yourself repeating the same mistakes, attracting the same people, facing the same financial problems, no matter how hard you try, this message is for you. Today, we're going to talk about something that can completely transform your life: how to reprogram your mind for success. You will discover how limiting beliefs, old patterns, and unconscious habits might be stopping you from achieving everything you desire. And more importantly, how to change this in a practical, daily, and effective way. The first step to reprogramming your mind for success is to identify the limiting beliefs we carry, often without even realizing it. These beliefs are deeply rooted thoughts, repeated over the years, that shape how we see the world. They may have originated in childhood from comments made by parents, teachers, or those close to us, and were absorbed as absolute truths. Phrases like, "making money is hard," "relationships always end badly," or "I'm not good enough," create invisible barriers that sabotage our growth. The great challenge is that, because they exist in our subconscious, they operate silently, guiding our choices without our awareness. That's why it's essential to begin the transformation process by identifying these internal voices that limit our potential and prevent us from achieving the results we desire. To identify these beliefs, you need to look honestly at different areas of your life, such as relationships, career, health, and finances. In each of them, it's possible to notice repetitive patterns of dissatisfaction or failure. For example, someone who constantly faces financial difficulties might carry the unconscious idea that wealth isn't for people like me. In the realm of relationships, a person who feels that no one values me may be vibrating from a belief of unworthiness, attracting experiences that confirm this pattern. When we don't question these thoughts, they become self-fulfilling prophecies. We believe them, feel them, act according to them, and end up reinforcing the same reality. It's as if we're trapped in a cycle that repeats endlessly until we decide to bring consciousness to the process. The most powerful practice at this stage is self-analysis. Observing your own words, thoughts, and emotions in challenging situations is like turning on a flashlight in the dark. Every time you catch yourself saying things like, "I can't do it," "this isn't for me," or "everything goes wrong," it's a clear sign of a limiting belief in action. This is where the opportunity arises to question, is this really true, or is it just a perception created in the past? This simple shift in perspective opens up space to transform your internal narrative and consequently your external reality. When we identify limiting beliefs, we take the first step toward freeing ourselves from them, because you can only change what you can see. The process may not be easy, but it is liberating and puts you in control of your own mind and your own destiny. The second step in the mental reprogramming process is to carefully observe the main areas of your life: relationships, work, and finances. Each one acts as a mirror, reflecting our deepest beliefs. If there is constant dissatisfaction in any of these areas, there is likely a mental program running in the background. This initial assessment helps to identify where the mind most urgently needs to be reprogrammed. In relationships, for example, many people repeat patterns of rejection, devaluation, or abandonment. This usually happens because they carry beliefs of unworthiness or fear of being truly loved. By analyzing their personal history, it's possible to see these repetitions and ask, what within me attracts this type of situation? This reflection creates space to identify the emotional root and begin to transform it. In the professional field, limiting beliefs also reveal themselves clearly. The person who believes that work is suffering or that success is only for a few tends to attract experiences that reinforce these ideas. Often, even when a growth opportunity arises, they unconsciously sabotage themselves, either through procrastination or fear of failure. Evaluating your work life is essential to see whether you have a mindset of scarcity or expansion. In finances, beliefs become even more evident, as money is loaded with emotional meanings. Phrases heard in childhood like, "money doesn't bring happiness," or "people with money aren't honest," create internal barriers. These ideas shape how a person deals with earnings, investments, and opportunities. Thus, even before achieving abundance, they already feel blocked or guilty for wanting to prosper. Assessing your finances is a crucial step to breaking these patterns. Finally, this evaluation should not be done with judgment, but with awareness. The goal is not to reinforce guilt, but to bring hidden beliefs to the surface that influence each area of your life. When we look honestly at our relationships, work, and finances, we can identify the blockages and see that they are not life sentences. They are merely reflections of old thoughts that can be replaced by new, more empowering beliefs aligned with success. Negative beliefs about money are one of the main barriers for those seeking prosperity. Often, from a young age, we hear phrases like, "money is hard to earn," "we're not rich," or "money doesn't grow on trees." These messages, repeated frequently, become embedded in our subconscious and shape how we deal with finances. As a result, even if a person works hard, they unconsciously act in accordance with these limiting ideas. When we believe that money is scarce and difficult to obtain, we create behaviors that reinforce this perception. For example, a person might avoid seeking new opportunities, feel afraid to invest, or even reject chances for growth because they think it's not for me. This thought pattern generates a cycle of scarcity. The more we believe in the difficulty, the more situations confirm this view. Thus, the mind starts working against us, maintaining a reality of lack. Another effect of these negative beliefs is a sense of guilt associated with prosperity. Many people believe that wanting to earn more is a sign of greed or selfishness. This programming prevents them from being open to receiving, even when they deserve it. Consequently, they tend to sabotage their own earnings, either by spending impulsively or avoiding saving money. The root of this behavior isn't a lack of discipline, but rather the belief that it's not right to prosper. Furthermore, beliefs like money corrupts or rich people aren't happy create a deep blockage. The mind associates wealth with suffering or corruption, causing the person, without realizing it, to push away opportunities that could bring abundance. This type of thinking creates an internal conflict. The desire to prosper exists, but it's blocked by a feeling of insecurity or even fear. This explains why so many people strive but fail to achieve financial stability. Reprogramming these beliefs is essential to change your results. The first step is to identify which negative phrases or thoughts about money have been internalized. Next, you must replace them with empowering beliefs, such as "money is energy in motion" or "prosperity is natural in my life." When the mind begins to accept these new truths, behavior aligns with them, opening the door to new opportunities and much more positive financial outcomes. Vibrational frequency is a concept that explains how our thoughts and emotions emit a kind of energy capable of attracting similar experiences. When we are immersed in feelings of fear, anger, or scarcity, we vibrate at a low frequency, which naturally attracts more negative situations. On the other hand, emotions like gratitude, joy, and love raise our vibration, paving the way for positive opportunities and experiences. It's as if the universe responds to what we emit, acting like a mirror that reflects each person's internal state. Understanding this dynamic is essential for anyone who wants to reprogram their mind and align with success. The great challenge is that we often don't notice the quality of our vibration. Automatic thoughts and emotional habits repeat every day, creating an energy field that shapes our reality. For example, someone who constantly complains about a lack of money ends up vibrating scarcity, attracting even more situations of financial difficulty. Conversely, a person who chooses to focus on the positive, even in challenging times, tends to raise their frequency, making room for new possibilities. This process doesn't happen overnight, but requires conscious practice and constant repetition. Therefore, clearing negative beliefs is an essential step to raising your vibrational frequency. It's not enough to just think positive on the surface. You must align your mind and heart, transforming your inner feelings. When we replace thoughts of fear with affirmations of confidence and cultivate emotions like gratitude, we begin to vibrate in sync with what we wish to attract. This shift creates a virtuous cycle. The more positivity we vibrate, the more it returns in the form of opportunities, healthy relationships, and prosperity. Raising your vibrational frequency, therefore, is not just a spiritual concept, but a concrete practice of personal transformation. When we repetitively cultivate negative thoughts, our body and mind begin to operate in a low-energy state. Emotions like fear, guilt, anger, or resentment put us in a denser vibrational pattern, which naturally attracts similar experiences. It's as if we are constantly tuned to a radio station that only broadcasts bad news. In this state, even neutral situations can be interpreted pessimistically, reinforcing the cycle of negativity. This mechanism explains why many people feel trapped in a spiral of problems that seem to have no end. The human mind has a habit of seeking confirmation for what it believes. So, when we are in a negative frequency, we see the world through the lens of scarcity and difficulty. Minor setbacks are interpreted as major failures, and opportunities go unnoticed because we can't recognize them. It's at this point that negative thoughts turn into deep-seated beliefs, shaping our decisions and pushing us away from a lighter, more abundant life. What started as a simple worry ends up becoming a life pattern. The good news is that this cycle can be consciously broken. When we learn to observe our thoughts and choose higher responses, we begin to change the emotional frequency at which we vibrate. Practices like gratitude, meditation, and repeating positive affirmations help replace negative patterns with new states of consciousness. This process raises our energy, attracts more favorable situations, and creates space for personal growth. Thus, we understand that we are not victims of negative thoughts, but rather creators of the reality we wish to experience. Clearing limiting beliefs is a crucial step to raising your vibrational frequency and transforming the reality you live in. These beliefs, often unconscious, act as filters that distort our perception of the world. As long as they remain active, they keep us trapped in patterns of scarcity, fear, and self-sabotage. By identifying them and consciously working to replace them with empowering beliefs, we open ourselves up to new experiences that are more aligned with our desires and goals. This clearing process creates emotional and mental freedom, allowing us to act with clarity and confidence in any area of life. The impact of this transformation is noticeable in every aspect of daily life. Relationships become healthier, professional opportunities arise more easily, and the feeling of deservingness grows stronger. Clearing negative beliefs doesn't mean ignoring challenges or problems, but rather letting go of the emotional baggage that prevents us from seeing solutions. When the mind is clear, we can make more conscious decisions, respond to difficulties in a balanced way, and attract circumstances that reflect our internal state. It's like swapping foggy glasses for clear lenses, allowing you to see life with clarity and unlimited potential. This process requires daily practice and a commitment to your own evolution. Techniques like self-analysis, affirmations, visualizations, and meditations are powerful tools for clearing old patterns. Every time we replace a limiting belief with a new, empowering perception, our emotional frequency rises, and we get closer to what we truly desire. Over time, this change becomes natural, and the mind starts to operate in a way that is more aligned with success and personal fulfillment. Clearing beliefs is, therefore, the key to unlocking a more positive, abundant, and unblocked life. The power of emotion over reason reveals how our decisions and actions are influenced more by feelings than by conscious thoughts. We often believe we are acting logically, but in reality, our choices are guided by the emotions our thoughts trigger. A simple thought of doubt or fear can generate enough insecurity to sabotage an opportunity, even if we rationally know it's a good one. Understanding this dynamic is essential for reprogramming the mind, because it means that controlling and elevating our emotions is more effective than just trying to think positive. Feelings of worthiness or emotional blockage directly determine our alignment with success. People who internalize beliefs of inadequacy, despite having knowledge and skills, end up creating invisible barriers to achieving their goals. The emotion that accompanies a thought is what truly drives behavior. Fear leads to hesitation, resentment leads to withdrawal, and gratitude leads to attraction. Thus, we can see that the rational mind acts as an observer, but it's our emotional state that truly directs our actions. Therefore, developing emotional intelligence and working on the connection between mind and heart is fundamental. The practice of observing emotions, transforming them, and replacing them with empowering feelings like confidence, joy, and gratitude changes how we relate to the world. Instead of trying to control only our conscious thoughts, we begin to direct our emotional energy constructively, creating more positive outcomes aligned with our goals. When we master the power of emotion over reason, we pave the way for more conscious decisions, more assertive actions, and a life of greater personal fulfillment. The conflict between the conscious and subconscious mind explains why we often know what we should do, but can't bring ourselves to do it. Until the age of 7, our mind absorbs information and patterns without question, recording everything as absolute truth. These deep-seated beliefs form the foundation of our subconscious and continue to influence our choices long after we grow up. When the conscious mind develops, it tries to guide our actions logically, but it frequently meets resistance from the subconscious, which acts automatically based on old patterns. This conflict is responsible for behaviors that seem contradictory and self-sabotaging, hindering personal progress. The conscious mind is limited by current knowledge and perception, while the subconscious carries memories, experiences, and beliefs accumulated over a lifetime. That's why, even with good intentions, many people repeat old patterns in relationships, work, or financial habits. They may try rationally, but still find themselves drawn to situations that reinforce their pre-existing beliefs. The subconscious acts as an invisible autopilot, and understanding this dynamic is essential to learning how to effectively reprogram thoughts and behaviors. Overcoming this conflict requires bringing awareness to unconscious patterns. Practices like meditation, visualization, affirmations, and self-analysis help connect the conscious and subconscious, allowing us to identify and replace limiting beliefs. By recognizing which thoughts and emotions are being driven by the subconscious, it's possible to create new, more positive and empowering patterns. Over time, the mind aligns, reducing internal conflict and promoting more conscious decisions and actions. This process is fundamental to transforming your life in a lasting way, as it harmonizes the rational mind with the deep wisdom of the subconscious. Adopting the protagonist mindset is an essential step for anyone who wants to reprogram their mind and create the life they truly desire. Many people remain in the role of the victim, blaming external circumstances, other people, or luck for the challenges they face. This posture keeps the mind trapped in patterns of helplessness and limitation, preventing the person from realizing their own power of choice. When we take responsibility for our actions and decisions, we begin to see that we are the authors of our own story, capable of transforming situations and building different outcomes. Awareness is the key to breaking free from the victim role and taking on the protagonist role in your own life. By observing our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without judgment, we can identify where we are repeating old patterns that no longer serve us. This process requires honesty and courage, as we often need to confront beliefs and habits that keep us stagnant. But it is precisely in this confrontation that freedom is born, because by recognizing our power, we stop waiting for external factors to change and start acting in alignment with our goals and values. Being the protagonist means creating an intentional life rather than automatically reacting to circumstances. It's choosing how to respond to challenges, how to seize opportunities, and how to shape the desired future. The transition from victim to protagonist doesn't happen instantly, but every conscious decision strengthens this new pattern. With practice and persistence, you begin to realize that external limitations have less power over your reality, and that your energy, intention, and attitude are the factors that truly define the course of your life. This is the path to true self-responsibility and a life of success and personal fulfillment. Beliefs are perceptions that we hold to be true, even though they often have no basis in reality. They function as internal filters that shape our interpretation of the world, determining how we react to situations and what choices we make. A belief can be empowering, propelling us towards success, or limiting, keeping us trapped in patterns of scarcity, fear, or self-sabotage. Therefore, understanding the concept of a belief is essential for any process of personal transformation, because you can only change what you can recognize as a construction of the mind. A simple example of a limiting belief appears in relationships. Someone might think, "I'm not good enough to have a healthy relationship." This idea is treated as an absolute truth by the mind, but in reality, it is just a perception created from past experiences or social judgments. By realizing that this is a belief and not an unchangeable reality, the person gains the freedom to question it and replace it with a more empowering one. This process enables new choices, new attitudes, and consequently, new experiences that once seemed impossible. Beliefs are also formed during childhood, when we absorb messages from family, teachers, and our social environment. They function as the mind's initial programming, influencing how we see ourselves, how we see the world, and what we believe is possible to achieve. Often, these beliefs remain invisible, but they continue to shape behaviors and outcomes. Understanding that beliefs are mental constructs and not absolute truths opens the door to reprogramming, allowing each person to consciously choose the thoughts and perceptions they wish to cultivate. Childhood is a crucial period in the formation of the mind, as it's when our sense of worth, limits, and possibilities is established. During this phase, everything we hear, see, and feel is absorbed by the subconscious as absolute truth, creating patterns that we often carry for our entire lives. Experiences of rejection, excessive criticism, or a lack of emotional support can generate limiting beliefs, such as "I am not enough" or "I don't deserve success." These childhood dramas are no one's fault, but they operate silently, shaping our choices and attitudes in adulthood. Without healing these emotional wounds, we tend to repeat behaviors that reinforce scarcity and limitation. Relationships, career, and finances can follow cycles of frustration because the subconscious acts based on old programming. For example, someone who grew up hearing that money isn't for people like us might, even unconsciously, avoid opportunities for prosperity. Similarly, fears and insecurities inherited from childhood can create resistance to success or love, causing the person to sabotage themselves before they even try. The process of mental reprogramming necessarily involves identifying and healing these memories and beliefs. Techniques such as forgiveness, meditation, self-analysis, and therapy help to reframe past experiences, replacing limiting patterns with new, empowering perceptions. The more we align the conscious mind with the healing of the subconscious, the easier it becomes to create a life of abundance and well-being. Healing the dramas of childhood programming doesn't erase the past, but it transforms its influence, allowing a person to live more freely, consciously, and in alignment with their goals and potential. Forgiveness is a powerful tool for raising your vibrational frequency and releasing emotional blockages that hinder personal growth. When we carry resentment, hatred, or a desire for revenge, our energy remains stagnant, creating an internal field that attracts negative experiences. By forgiving, we are not justifying or accepting others' harmful behaviors, but rather freeing ourselves from the emotional weight that imprisons us. This practice promotes mental clarity, inner peace, and opens the door to new opportunities, allowing our energy to flow in a more positive and constructive way. Even if forgiveness seems difficult or impossible, it is essential for personal transformation. Holding on to grudges or resentment keeps a person stuck in the past, reinforcing low-frequency patterns and attracting more negative situations. When we choose to let go of resentment, we allow our mind and body to regenerate, restoring emotional balance. Forgiveness acts as a true energetic cleansing, removing blockages that limit worthiness and personal fulfillment, and creating space to cultivate feelings of gratitude, love, and trust in life. Practicing forgiveness consciously also strengthens self-esteem and inner power. As we learn to release judgments and hurts, we begin to realize that our happiness does not depend on the actions of others, but on our ability to choose how we react. This change in perspective transforms relationships, reduces conflicts, and increases internal harmony. Forgiveness is not a one-time act, but a continuous process that needs to be cultivated daily, becoming a habit of self-awareness that raises vibrational frequency and brings us closer to a more abundant, positive, and fulfilling life. The filter between the conscious and subconscious mind acts as a gateway to our inner mind, allowing only certain information to be assimilated by the subconscious. Everything we think, feel, or experience must pass through this filter, which analyzes whether the content is already supported by pre-existing beliefs or patterns. This is why negative thoughts tend to be faster and more automatic. They find easy acceptance in the subconscious, reinforcing old patterns without conscious effort. Understanding this mechanism is fundamental for anyone who wants to reprogram their mind and replace limiting mental habits with empowering beliefs. This filter explains why superficial changes, like simply repeating positive affirmations without an emotional connection, don't always work. For a new idea to be incorporated by the subconscious, it needs to align with existing feelings and experiences or be reinforced repeatedly until it creates a new pattern. Thoughts and emotions that conflict with deep-seated beliefs encounter resistance and are either ignored or distorted by the subconscious. This process shows that mental transformation requires consistency, practice, and attention to the emotions that accompany each thought, ensuring that the subconscious accepts and integrates new perceptions. By understanding how this filter works, we can use more effective strategies to reprogram the mind. Techniques like visualization, affirmations combined with emotion, and repetition during moments of brain receptivity, such as before sleep or in a state of deep relaxation, help to bypass subconscious resistance. When we can consciously pass through the filter, new beliefs take hold naturally, replacing limiting patterns and strengthening positive behaviors. This knowledge gives us control over our own mental programming, allowing us to create a more conscious life, aligned with personal goals and purposes. Transmutation via the opposite polarity is a powerful technique for reprogramming the mind without having to identify every single limiting belief. Instead of focusing on what blocks us, we can work directly with the opposite belief or feeling we wish to cultivate. For example, if we don't know which belief is hindering our prosperity, we can focus our efforts on developing the feeling of abundance, gratitude, and worthiness. This method allows for a faster and more practical transformation, as the subconscious mind more easily absorbs positive emotions than the negation of old patterns. This approach works because the subconscious responds strongly to emotion and sensory experience. Working with the opposite of a limiting pattern creates a new vibrational field that gradually replaces the old programming. By repeating feelings of confidence, joy, abundance, or self-love, we are literally teaching the mind to operate from new reference points. The opposite polarity doesn't ignore the problem, but transforms the energy associated with it, creating a flow of thoughts and actions aligned with what we truly want to experience in our daily lives. The conscious use of this technique requires practice and consistency. Daily visualizations, affirmations, and emotional exercises help to solidify the new mental programming. The more we experience and feel the desired polarity, the more the subconscious integrates these new beliefs, automatically replacing the old limitations. Over time, we begin to act and react in alignment with what we have chosen to create, without having to constantly rely on willpower. Transmutation via the opposite polarity is, therefore, a practical and effective tool for transforming internal patterns and making room for a more positive, abundant, and fulfilled life. Living on autopilot means going through your days without true attention or intention, repeating behavioral patterns without realizing it. We wake up, work, eat, sleep, and repeat the routine without questioning our choices or reflecting on our goals. In this state, the unconscious mind drives our actions, keeping us trapped in old habits and beliefs that limit our growth potential. Those who live this way end up becoming spectators of their own lives, reacting to external circumstances instead of actively creating their reality. On the other hand, a conscious life is chosen by those who awaken to their own responsibility and personal power. It means observing thoughts, emotions, and attitudes, making decisions aligned with internal values, and acting intentionally. This stance allows you to break automatic cycles of dissatisfaction, scarcity, and conflict, replacing them with more positive and empowering patterns. A conscious life requires daily attention, the practice of self-awareness, and a willingness to take responsibility for your own choices, creating a deep sense of freedom and autonomy. The awakening to consciousness transforms every aspect of existence. Small changes in habits, shifts in perception, and practices like meditation, visualization, and self-analysis raise your vibrational frequency and strengthen your ability to create desired outcomes. Those who live consciously see opportunities where they once saw only obstacles, react to adversity in a balanced way, and cultivate more satisfying relationships and experiences. Choosing consciousness is, therefore, about letting go of autopilot and taking on the protagonist role in your own life, building a reality more aligned with your purpose and personal success. Self-analysis of your own speech is a powerful tool for understanding what is truly in your heart and mind. The words we use daily reflect our deepest thoughts and ingrained beliefs. When we speak negatively or in a limiting way about ourselves or the world, we are externalizing internal patterns that shape our reality. Closely observing our speech allows us to identify these beliefs, understanding which ones are empowering and which are blocking our personal growth. This habit gives us clarity on how our thinking influences our actions and results. Practicing self-analysis requires attention and honesty. You need to listen carefully to your own thoughts and observe how you express yourself in different situations, such as when facing challenges, opportunities, or conflicts. For example, phrases like, "I can't," "That's not for me," or "It always goes wrong," reveal patterns that need to be transformed. By identifying them, we can replace them with affirmations and thoughts that reinforce self-confidence, worthiness, and personal power. This daily practice strengthens awareness, enabling choices more aligned with our goals and dreams. In addition to revealing limiting beliefs, self-analysis of your own speech strengthens your communication skills and self-knowledge. By understanding our language patterns, we learn to modify how we relate to others and to ourselves. This awareness also helps to adjust habits, behaviors, and emotional reactions, creating a more balanced and intentional life. The more practiced and consistent this analysis becomes, the faster old patterns dissolve, making way for positive and empowering thoughts that raise your vibrational frequency and transform reality in a concrete and lasting way. Sleep is a powerful time for reprogramming the mind, as brain cycles allow information to be assimilated by the subconscious with greater ease. During the transition through the beta, alpha, theta, and delta states, the brain is more receptive to thought patterns and feelings that reinforce positive beliefs. Affirmations or visualizations repeated before sleep can be absorbed as internal truths, influencing behaviors and decisions naturally. This process enhances personal transformation because it works directly with the subconscious mind, which is responsible for most of the automatic choices that shape our lives. To leverage sleep as a reprogramming tool, it is important to create a routine that prepares the body and mind to absorb this information. Moments of relaxation, deep breathing, and focusing on positive feelings help create a receptive state. Mentally repeating phrases like, "I am prosperous" or "I deserve success," while maintaining an emotional connection to what you want to strengthen, is a powerful practice. Daily consistency increases effectiveness as the subconscious mind begins to integrate these new beliefs as part of its internal pattern of thought and feeling. Furthermore, reprogramming during sleep works silently, reinforcing changes that we often can't achieve consciously during the day. It is a way of continuously training the mind, preparing the individual to react more positively to everyday situations. When combined with conscious practices like meditation, self-analysis, and visualization, this technique accelerates internal transformation. Over time, the results are reflected in behavior, decisions, and concrete outcomes, making sleep an essential ally for anyone seeking to align their mind, emotions, and reality with personal success and the achievement of their goals. A concrete example of how limiting beliefs affect reality is the case of a real estate agent who believes that no one has money to buy. This perception, even if unconscious, directly influences his actions and results. He might stop prospecting for clients, hesitate to present opportunities, or feel insecure during negotiations. This pattern generates a cycle of scarcity. The more he believes in lack, the more situations confirm this belief, reinforcing the negative thought and limiting his professional success. A scarcity mindset creates unconscious resistance to growth opportunities. Even if interested clients or properties with great sales potential appear, the agent tends to sabotage these chances, either by procrastinating or by reacting with doubt or fear. This behavior is not a result of incompetence, but rather the powerful influence of the subconscious, which acts based on internalized beliefs about money, success, and worthiness. To break this cycle, it is necessary to identify the negative mental programming and replace it with empowering beliefs of abundance and prosperity. By working on an abundance mindset, the agent begins to perceive new opportunities and act proactively. Affirmations like, "My clients have the resources and desire to invest," or "I am capable of creating value and success in my work," raise his emotional frequency, aligning thoughts, feelings, and actions. With consistent practice, the subconscious begins to absorb these positive patterns, transforming attitudes and results. This example clearly shows how internal beliefs shape external reality, and how mental reprogramming is essential for anyone who wants to prosper consistently and sustainably. The conclusion of any mental reprogramming process involves conscious practice. It's not enough to just absorb knowledge. You must apply the insights gained daily, observing your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Conscious practice requires mindful attention to your own choices, questioning old patterns, and replacing them with habits that promote growth and alignment with personal goals. Every intentional action strengthens the mind, creating new neural pathways that are directly reflected in the reality we wish to manifest. Starting a conscious practice can include simple techniques such as self-analysis of your speech, daily visualizations, affirmations, and meditation. It is essential to set aside moments in the day to reflect on the beliefs that still limit you and to direct energy toward what you want to attract. Small daily adjustments lead to significant results over time as the subconscious mind absorbs consistent patterns and transforms them into positive, automatic behaviors. In this way, every conscious decision becomes a step towards success and personal fulfillment. The final invitation is to take responsibility for your own growth and actively transform your life. Every person has the power to choose how to react, which patterns to cultivate, and which beliefs to leave behind. Conscious practice is not a fleeting effort, but a daily commitment to your own evolution. The more consistent this practice is, the easier it becomes to live in alignment with abundance, confidence, and inner clarity. This is the path to building a fulfilling life with concrete and sustainable results based on consciousness, personal power, and alignment with true goals. You are no longer the same person who started this video. The change has already happened on an energetic level. Your only task now is to live in accordance with this new truth. Life isn't something that happens to you, it's something that responds to you.